Broke and in debt. The Treasury Department reporting officially the U.S. is $1 trillion in the red, and we're adding about $5 billion a day to that tab. $5 billion a day. That's just my wife shopping. But my next guest says technology and innovation will lead America right out of its economic mess. With me now, one of my favorite guests here is Gurbaksh Chahal. He is one of the youngest multimillionaires in Silicon Valley. We asked him to leave his wallet at the door, and we're putting it up on eBay. Anyway, he's the founder and the CEO of G Wallet. Speaking of which, we were talking a little bit during the break, Gurbaksh. I'm wondering about this overwhelming fear, this angst that's building in this country and elsewhere, that we're just knee-deep in trouble and we can't dig out.
I think that's a very pessimistic way to look at it. I think you got to look at it from a category perspective. You know, automotive was in trouble. It's going through its restructuring. Financial needs its reform. And real estate, obviously, you know, people basically kept buying up, and the Ponzi scheme of the financial crisis led to the real estate collapse.
Yeah, but we solved a Ponzi scheme with another Ponzi scheme. What worries a lot of savvy business types is that, while it's nice to be optimistic, we're not addressing the problems. We're putting them off.
Well, in due time, after more jobs are created, more innovation is happening, I think the country needs more entrepreneurs and needs more business leaders that can go ahead and create jobs, rather than kind of the fear that's resonated so far.
But do you find that environment here? I mean, you created your fortune at a time when it wasn't a very hospitable environment, but through good and bad times alike, obviously you got wealthy. But I hear from many business titans of all worth and rank who say, increasingly we have an anti-business tone in this country. Do you buy that?
Maybe it's because I'm in a bubble in Silicon Valley, and that bubble basically thrives on entrepreneurism and thrives on risk and thrives on innovation. I mean, we're still in a very bad economy, but if you look at some of the private companies that have been created, I mean, you got Facebook, it's going to do, you know, billions of dollars in revenue. You got Zynga, another new company that operates in our space, that's going to do close to $1 billion in revenue. This is in a recessionary
But
climate.
Are you saying these are the type of things, obviously American entities, that would thrive regardless of the economy, or they're going to be the key to getting us out of a bad economy? I
guess when we were talking the break, you got to have that entrepreneurial spirit, maybe across all of America, even, you know, outside of just not only in Silicon Valley.
I don't think we do. I think we have management by weenies now. I think, seriously, I think we have people who have a predictable response, a sort of a boring approach. They get into a rote way of doing things. And I'm not giving you false praise here, but you were weird. And in a good way. I think that you just
Thank you.
No, it's to understand, you know. But I don't see a lot of that. I get very bored by predictable people. My boss is actually, I'm not sucking on it. What I love about them is they're weird. They do not countenance business as usual.
But that's what opportunity that exists right there, is that when you see
Try telling that to the other 499 Fortune 500. You know what I mean? Like, we don't see that.
Well, I think that's where the opportunity exists, even in a recessionary climate right now, is that if you can find that niche that nobody else is focusing on, out-execute them, you know, you can go and create a very successful company. And I think Darwinism at its best will come out, and the big companies will survive.
I don't think we even have Darwinism anymore. If in doubt, bail them out. If they, you know, rescue the sickest pups, and the government's your fallback. I mean, now look at this. We have a housing industry that depends on housing credits. For a while, auto sales that depended on cash for clunkers. We set people up with a Pavlovian response. The government's going to back you up, or you don't buy.
I don't entirely agree with a lot of the things that we did, but I can say is that if there's one sector that's thrived outside of the whole bailout issues that's never need a bailout, is the tech sector. I mean, even if you look at the economy today, look at Apple.
Agreed.
I mean, Apple's at a very skyrocket high, and that's the secret.
Your quick thoughts on BP and how they've handled this?
I think when you have a responsibility when you run a multi-billion-dollar company there, and that responsibility is, okay, I want to make a lot of profit, but I also have a moral barometer to put all the checks and balances in place, because I got to be a good corporate citizen. And I think that you know, once you reach that you know, status, and as you mentioned, there's a lot of those companies that basically focus on profit and the bottom line and their bonuses and cutting corners, that you forget that moral barometer, because there's you know, conflicts of interest there. So I mean, I can't say I ran a billion-dollar company and I know what the shoes to fit in to make those decisions, but I think there was probably more of a corporate mess that exists that requires a lot of cleanup.
But a company of that size has to be aware of lawsuits, that anything you say, anything you do, any inference you make will be the stuff of lawsuits.
And I think they're going to get sued a lot. And there's
one way or the other, they're going to get it.
Yeah, one way they're going to get it. And I think that this is maybe a lesson for companies that have that much of a corporate responsibility, where you have to go ahead and think with a moral barometer outside of just a profit meter.
But Rich, you're optimistic for this country longer term, right? All these problems notwithstanding, all this world is broke stuff where most of the major countries are spending far more than taking in, and they've got deficits and debts as far and long as the eye can see. We overcome it through what?
We overcome it through the right type of leadership. And I
think don't have that leadership.
That leadership comes from a lot of different areas.
Let me know. I'll buy stock in them.
I'm saying from a governmental leadership.
We don't have that.
We're working on it. You know?
Really?
I mean, I think
where is this person? Is like the baby Jesus somewhere? And I just don't know where.
Well, he's the president of the United States, so.
You like him?
I'm optimistic. I mean, as you said, I'm not a pessimistic. So I am.
You think he's okay?
I think there's challenges ahead, but it's a tough job, and
you don't think he's
the right policy
you don't think
may
he's
or may not.
You don't think he's in over his head?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
All right. Well, you're a multimillionaire. You should know. All right. We'll watch it.
Well, thanks for the compliment, but I still think innovation and entrepreneurism is going to be a key asset to the recovery.
It's not innovating, just so you know. We'll see. I want to get you back and all this because I love having you. A very, very smart guy.